that, I'm going to get started here. So it is the best season of TSFL. For those that were at the training on Saturday, we had a great event here in the Northwest. And it is, this is the best time because it's seed planting time. We're always sowing seeds and then we reap the harvest of the work we put in. You can't reap a harvest without planting the seed, but this is also the time where you get to plant a lot of seeds in a lot of purpose during a time where it's very well received, coming up on a time when people will want to do a lot of stuff with those seeds. I always find it hilarious because it's like the opposite of real time when you plant seeds. You plant it at the very start of winter and you harvest in the middle when it's the coldest and the rainiest and all that in between. So the more seeds you plant, the more you tend your crops, the more harvest you have, and it's really fun to see that happen. So let's talk about how you plant those seeds. The art of asking questions, which is okay. Let me make sure that I am recording. Yep, I am recording. One thing to ask yourself before we even really get into this topic and go into this time of year is people are going to be making decisions about their health. They're going to be thinking about it constantly throughout the holidays. They're going to think about it multiple times. The average person is going to gain 5 to 8 pounds throughout the holiday seasons. And, I believe 7 out of the 10 New Year's resolutions revolve around something that we have to offer pretty directly. Will they be thinking about you when these situations come up? So it's just something to ask yourself with your brand, the seeds you're planting, the crops you're tending to, and being ready to harvest those crops. And those crops are, again, people that want to get healthy. So the more consistent you are today, it'll show up in your office in motion tomorrow. Like, our gatherings at Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. We're going to see a lot of people. There's going to be family gatherings. There's going to be reunions. And for those that you don't actually see in person, a lot of people are sharing more on Facebook during that time. And you always, at the very least, will make sure to get tons of holiday letters so you can find out exactly what people are up to. It's a great other tool for you to use during the seasons to plant a seed. So I'm just going to review some of the tools again that we have as we are layering a bunch of people planting your seeds. Don't forget all the stuff you have in your pocket, which is, the ebook. And this is part of where our asking questions come in for your pre clients, because that way, if you're listening, you're going to know exactly which tool to reach out to. We have the ebook. You can reach out to someone anytime. It is also the first thing that we coach people through when they start program, depending on what they do. We have the 12-week health transformation. Anyone can sign up at any time. We do have newsletters. I know most of you guys do some form of newsletter or dripping campaign on your clients. We will have the New Year's challenge, which I just got off a call earlier today. Got a lot of exciting things coming up on that. Then you and your story and everybody's story around you. So let's go into the art of asking questions, how to profile a client, bring up conversation, and talk about that. So it all starts with sharing the program. And here's just a few things that I have to review on that topic, which is your posture. Your posture is so key on this topic because did you know the highest percentage of your communication with someone is nonverbal. So your posture comes heavily into play there. Are you bulletproof? What's my level of being bulletproof? Mastering the art of asking questions so you know how to find out what people want. So you're not doing telling, you're doing asking. Do I ask questions that lead the client to their why? Do I understand what their concepts might be from what they're telling me? Just more things of just when you're sharing in the art of asking questions. Am I earning the right to share our program? Am I laying the groundwork so that I can just come in boldly with my posture and identify exactly what I can speak to that person? Applying our program to their life. And am I giving them too much detail, too much stats? A lot of people, they're analytical. Like myself, I love all the details. I love the 24 vitamins and nutrients and minerals that we have. I love the doctor background, but not a lot of people care. Like my wife doesn't care about that stuff. So Ashley is you want to find out her why and you want to tell her how she can get it. She doesn't care about that bonus stuff. Then also the invitation, which is also vitally important. Are you wrapping up? Are you doing 90% of the work and dropping the most important 10%? Are you asking them if they're ready and giving them the invitation? So those are just some things about just in review. And then let's talk about what the art of asking question looks like. Just a few bullet points of like the art of asking question is someone who's mastering this skill. It's an open-ended question. It's an invitation. It's going to be very genuine. So, you don't have, obviously our agenda is to help everyone create health in their life. We want to make sure that we're being genuine and we provide value and being genuine by asking lots of questions to find out where the person in front of us is coming from. It gets more specific as needed it requires patience. You gotta require patience. I would love to use a football terminology, but I'm guessing a lot of people here aren't huge football fans, so I will refrain from that. Michelle is for those people that know running backs. They patiently wait for their hold to develop so they can get through the line and make a good run. So for those football fans, you get that, as opposed to a running back who just runs straight into their lineman and falls down. They don't get anywhere. So the most patient running backs move forward. So for my football fans, that's my analogy to football. All the rest of you, ask someone who likes football to explain that to you. It might require permission. That's always a good thing to ask. Like, if you feel like you're tiptoeing on a situation, hey, do I have permission to, be bold with you or to share something with you? And it looks like a partnership. That's another great way to describe it. It's a side-by-side. It's coming alongside someone and really feeling like you are providing value to them based on what they need. So let's look at when someone asks how to lose weight, TSFL. Do we, tell them about the Amazing 501 and how it could work for them? Do we, B, fill out the Habits of Health system and where we are now about a diet and we're an optimal health program? Do we, C, share stories of success, of other people's success and our own? Or do we, D, find out their why? Anyone want to chime in and guess? All these are really good things, but which one are we going to go with first? No one wants to pull themselves off mute. I'm calling on Michelle. You were already my guinea pig. So what is it, Michelle? Hold on, I'm going to unmute you. If I can unmute. Hold on. Which one is it?
I was multitasking and I was only half listening. You got to repeat them.
I'll just save time for the. I know you know the answer. That's why I called on you. But you're already.
I'm gonna say it's their why.
Oh, we have a winner. Who was that?
Christina Sanders.
Of course you did. You're already on track for your healthy holiday incentive. Of course you know how to get to the why. That is what it's all about. So all this stuff is great once you know their why. Thank you, Christina, for saving the day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We also have some people chiming in via chat here. Let me make sure we mute everybody again here. Christina gets the gold star. Well done. All right, here, let me get back to this. So yeah, we want to find out their why. That's the most important thing. All those other things are great. Those are tools we have. Stories are very powerful. How our 501 works is very powerful, but it really doesn't mean diddly until we know what they want and why they want it. So what does asking, the art of asking questions look like on your first interaction? For someone who's like, you're sharing what you do, or maybe you're seeing a friend you haven't seen in a long time. The conversation kind of comes up. So like, someone says, oh, hey, what is it that you do? Or what is that thing that you've been doing? So these are some of the questions that you ask. This is the art of asking questions, because the person who asks the questions has the control, and that's the power. You'll never tell anyone enough stuff where you're going to make them do something. It's always finding out what the fit is and making them match. That's what the beauty of this art is. So things like, oh, are you asking for someone you know? That's a really good thing. That usually progresses the conversation. Or I'm glad you asked. Do you have a particular goal in mind? Something non-invasive that basically just says, oh, you're interested. I'm interested in learning more about what you're interested in. And then what are some of the things you would like to find out more about? Basic, asking questions. I think I just double repeated myself, but basically things that will progress the conversation, that let them know that you're there to provide value for them and you genuinely care what it is that what they want to know about. So you guys see how in many of your interactions, if you have some of these gems ready to go, how it progresses the conversation. Many of you on the line I've actually had conversations with about how when you had these in your back pocket, how it immediately flipped to having a good conversation and developing the conversation more. So that's what some of the things look like in the first interactions. How about the cost questions? Dun, dun, dun. Anyone ever get the cost question? Anyone ever get frazzled by the cost question? So someone reaches out, and actually it was great. We had Denise Heinrichs with us up here this last week for the training, and someone actually did ask her that via Facebook when I was with her, and it was really great to see. And so we all dread the question, how much does it cost? And that's why the art of asking questions is so beautiful. Even the toughest questions are really easy when that comes up, because it's like, well, I don't know. It depends on your goals. Let's find out. Like, that's really what it boils down to. So I have a few sayings here that you can write down if this is something that may be a stumbling block for you, for maybe a newer coach, or just a reminder. It's always good to remind yourself of this. So saying things like, it depends on your goal. Do you have a good time to connect for a couple of minutes? Maybe I can help you determine if our program is a match for you. Because then you're not telling them what diet food costs. You're literally asking them what their goals are, and you're going to powerfully tell them that you can help them achieve whatever those goals are. It's a vastly different thing. Plus, it's just real because, Dawn, before we started recording this, for people that are catching the recording, I know there's going to be a lot of you. Dawn was citing how one of the things she learned is, she asked someone these questions and kind of verbally vomited all the great things about the 5 and 1. And it ended up being someone who was going to be a nursing mom. So, Dawn, I love you, but swing and a miss on that one. And we've all done that. So we've all done that swing and a miss. But, you ask because they could be wanting to be learning more because they're going to be on the nursing moms program. They may be asking for a friend. They may be asking for their child. They may be asking for their significant other. They may be asking for their grandparents, anybody, etc. So that's why you want to find out why, literally from a value standpoint, that you're actually asking, time conserving question, but also that you're getting in the art or the process of asking them what they want, and it makes the whole process a lot easier. Let's look into what the art of asking questions looks like on your first call. So, let's say you even got the, what's the program cost question. Someone reaches out on Facebook. I love it when I get that one. Hey, how much does it cost? Well, I always like, because it blasts in my head, well, how much does a new car cost? How much does the house cost? I don't know. It depends what you want, where you're buying. I don't know what the situation is. So my response to them would be, well, kind of depends on what your goals are. Let's connect for a few minutes. So let's say they said, yes, we get connected. My first question to them, because I'm just about the art of asking questions, I want to find out what this person wants, is my first thing I'm going to ask them is, tell me a little bit about your health goals. What do those look like? I'm going to ask things like, what would it look like if you were to accomplish health? Or wait, what would you like to accomplish with your health? That's another great question. Do you remember a time that you felt like that before? That's always my first one. When they start saying things like, oh, I want to lose weight, I want to feel better, and then you start to really kind of understand what that looks like, and you actually start to get a clear picture of what it looks like. Because as you're asking these questions, you should be visually starting to see what this looks like. They should be describing enough things to you that you know what this person wants, and you're going to know exactly what you're going to talk to. Once you start knowing those things, great question, like I just said, is, do you remember the time when you had that? Or when was the last time you had that? Like, I was just starting a client this last Friday, and they hadn't had their goal since their daughter was born 30 years ago. So, it's pretty emotional. There's a pretty good emotional tie to that when you bring that up. And then, what does your typical your day look like? Exercise, sleep, eating habits, stress, relationships, work, etc. That's another great question to ask. Continuing on, where are you right now in your health, and where do you want to be? Do you have people that might support you or be less supportive on your goal? Those are great things too for you to learn about your clients, so you can fight for their health journey, so they can get more real with their current reality. And then also just more things like, why is reaching this goal so important to you? So basically, you understand, and the way I'm a very visual person. So when I'm asking this conversation, I can literally pinpoint exactly what's important to this person, what is their emotional driver, why does it matter to them, and what do I have to bring to this person so that I can help them. And that's what also is great about asking questions. It shows you that you really care, but two, it makes your job extremely easy, because if you know how to help, if you know the basis of this 5 in 1 plan and you know what this person wants, you can generally tell them how they're going to get it. It makes it really simple. So what potential emotions are brought forward when you guys do this? There's telling and there's asking. So just kind of review, and I always like to kind of ask myself, how do I feel in this kind of situation? So kind of ask yourself how you feel as I bring up these things here. When I tell you that you need to do something, whatever it may be, we all have the things that we, don't want anyone to really shine lights on, concepts that we might need to get over. And when someone tells you about that, usually it evokes things like fear, frustration, anxiety, annoyance. It's all about the teller, and they don't want what I really want. Basically, you can visualize a huge wall going up anytime you start telling somebody something, unless you've asked for permission and you've asked enough questions to create value. That's why asking can evoke great things like trust, confidence, feeling heard, that it's not about the person telling, authenticity, partnership. all that in between. There's actually a chemical reaction that happens that in our bodies when we feel that we're having a relationship with someone. So that's what asking can do as opposed to telling. So just some things to bring up there. And then I always like this particular one as a reminder is if you tell them and you tell anyone something, it's a lie. But if they say it, you get them to come up and bring up what it is you want to tell them, then it's the truth. It's a very powerful deal to be able to ask someone the questions that help them get to what it is they want. And here's the other reason why we ask questions. Most people don't actually know what they want. They know what they don't want. And we all know from coaching our program that we need to get away from, we need to get people away from trying to run away from what they don't want. We need to help them create a path to help them achieve what they do want. It's a much stronger emotional tie to a goal than getting away from something. Yes, getting away from a particular situation may be part of that goal, but that's part of the reasons of asking questions. And many of you guys have probably seen this golden circle before. If you haven't, and you haven't heard us talk about it, and you haven't heard the Simon Sinek talk on it, Google Simon Sinek, Start With Why. It's amazing training on just why great companies do what they do and actually why Take Shape for Life is so amazing. But it basically goes in that most people, most companies, they start with what, they get to the how, and they tell you why. When really all the greatest companies and everything that we do intuitively starts with a why. When you want it bad enough, you'll figure out the how, and then you'll get to the what. So just another kind of good visual on, how we want to think. You'll probably hear us say over and over again, we want to start with why. We want to start from the inside out. That's the kind of situation you're bringing up with people here. So let me go over a few more why questions for everyone here on the line. Where are you at and where do you want to be? And as I'm going through this, just kind of visualize if you were a client or if you were having a conversation with a client that entailed these things. What do you want and why do you want it? What's a typical day look like for you, sun up to sundown? What's been the hardest thing for you about losing weight in the past? Why have you not been able to keep your weight off at other times? Are other people you live with healthy? And what kind of a support system do you have? How will you get healthy affect the people? How will getting healthy affect the people that you love the most? Those are all some great questions right there. And I'm talking more of the client standpoint tonight, by the way. And this is just as it's great in every area of your life, not to mention just coaching clients, but it's also just as important when you're identifying and grooming health coaches, because if you ask a lot of questions, and also the great thing is about asking questions throughout the coaching process is you're going to know exactly why you should talk to them about health coaching if you haven't already or been layering that. Because, for many of you guys, actually, I'm looking at a few faces, we've been talking about the actual hard approach with someone. It's great to layer. You want to layer, you want to drip, you want to set an example. And the art of asking questions through coaching is going to help you know exactly what to approach them directly with when you talk to them about coaching. So, and that's why it actually is effective, because you've listened and you've learned and you've earned that voice. So what does asking look like when someone may want to give up on their goals? So let me segue. Let me go on a rabbit trail for a second. We've all gotten people who are like, we've had some newer coaches on the line. We have some seasoned coaches on the line. This is also the reason why asking questions is so vital, is we've all get clients to a certain point and they just react to a bad day or wherever the case may be. And honestly, I love it when I hear Ashley do this because she is the queen at it. And someone will be like, well, I don't think I'm going to really continue on with this order after this. So, you get the random people that just obviously can't put two and two together. Or I'm having a hard time. I don't think I'm going to quit. Or I'm having a hard time. I'm going to go off program. And a lot of people, their first reaction is to be like, oh my gosh, I lost a client. And, you're operating from a fear standpoint. When really, if you take a deep breath, concentrate on the art of asking questions, it'll look something like this. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. What would I want to support you in whatever you want to do. What would your next steps look like, and what do you want to accomplish? Things like, what are you wanting? Tell me a little bit more about that. Can I help you with that? I'd love to, it's not just about the 5 and 1. We can make kind of a game plan, because I'm your health coach. I'm your optimal health coach for life. These are all just some different terminologies. And actually, I'm just going to recap the most recent one I watched Ashley do. She has a client who was like, it's a referral over referral over referral over referral. So she doesn't have a very super strong relationship with her, except for what she's been developing. The gal basically, she doesn't know our culture yet. She's only, a couple orders in, and her communication with Ashley has been, text message at best because she doesn't answer her phone. But then she finally got connected with her, and she's like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to order after this next month. I think I'm done. Ashley, knowing what she wants, knows that she's way far off from her goal, like another 40 pounds off. And she's like, so instead of just being shocked by that, Ashley, who's a true professional, goes, oh, okay, so, what are you looking to do on that? And the person's like, well, I think I'm just having a hard time with the food right now and being strict. So she's like, oh, yeah, you know what? Sometimes we all get there. What's been the hardest thing about that for you? I mean, yes, she's kind of feeding that negative fear, but she wants to find out why. And literally it comes down to just that girl is a control person, and she wants to have control and be able to do other things. So Ashley's like, no problem. You obviously want to continue on with your goal because she said, I wanted to lose weight. Ashley's like, we can move to a less strict plan if being strict and giving yourself more option is what you want to do. And she's like, yeah, I do want to do that. Let's do that. And then honestly, Ashley kept asking questions, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing because we can get on to other things, but essentially just by asking questions and basically, I like to say, holding up the mirror, the girl was like, yeah, I just want to do program. Let's just keep going with our goal. And she's still going strong to this day, which also 4 and 2 would have been great as well, or moving to a maintenance plan. But that's kind of the bulletproofness of asking questions. So I know we have some newer coaches on the line. And also this is just a great review whenever you get to hear this stuff. So I like this slide because it's like, now are you ready to listen? It's just a good reminder because sometimes our natural tendency as human beings is to start telling. And it's just good to get a reminder to ask and listen. So let's cover just a few more things as we kind of get to the wrapping up of this session. Anyone ever get any poopy diaper questions? We'll just call it that. Like, people that just say, we have our verbal vomit, and some people have their own version of their own. They just say things that you're kind of like, really asking me that question? Like, okay, I guess we're learning how to connect with people and, have relationships. So, but we all get those questions from time to time. People that'll ask things like, I don't know, like, is this a pyramid scheme? Or I'm just going to go over the basics. Like, so what's the gimmick involved in this? Or, is it one of those things? Or, like, is this program safe? Or I heard like, and people will bring out the most random things, and they know nothing about it, by the way. That's the secret. That's why I have a picture of Daffy Duck being bulletproof. Here is your magic answer to any question to that. And it's also, the greatest part about it is it's authentic because you want to know where they're coming from too. Just ask them, what do you mean by that? Most people, 9 times out of 10, if it is a poopy question, they're going to say, oh, I don't know. I just heard it from a friend. And you were ready to be baffled by someone's like, well, tell me about the vitamin K, amount in MetaFast meals, huh? And then you just say, or like, what do you mean by that? Or what do you want to know? And they'll be like, well, I don't know. I just heard that vitamin K is important. I don't really know anything about it. So it's just an example. But on the flip side of it, they may have a valid reason why vitamin K is important to them. And if you're not bulletproof, if your posture falls off, you may let that person fall, which, wrapping around more importantly to what we do, is your bulletproofness will help guide people. People will find a million reasons why to give up on themselves. We want to make sure we're finding a million reasons why they shouldn't give up on themselves. And in the art of asking questions on the newer client standpoint, here's the biggest reason why you want to make sure you have this in your back pocket, is that's not really the main point, really. So if someone's talking to you about losing weight, why are you asking where the food is shipped from? Why are you asking what the shipping time is? Why are you asking if they're, what the eggs taste like? Why are you asking anything? Because that's not what it's about. And it's also our job to keep the topic on point so we can fight for our person's health goals. Because they're already probably doing a million things in the world out there to confuse themselves. That's why they haven't done anything on their health. So it's also our job, besides everything else we do, is to keep it on point. So I was doing a 3-way phone call, and this 3-way phone call was someone who was a potential client, happened to be that way, but it was an actual practice partner call. And I asked to bring on the difficult questions. And so I actually used the what do you mean by that quite over and over again, because this person wanted to actually lose a significant amount of weight. And I knew that in my mind, and also for the newer coach that we were doing this with, that, I needed to keep the point on topic for this person because I care about their health. But also if I fed into those things, I wasn't keeping it really focused on what they actually want. I need to navigate. I need to not avoid the questions that they want. I want to show them that I have interest in learning why they are curious about these things. But I also want to clarify, and my job is to get it back on track. So unless it has to do with their goals, you always want to get the conversation going back towards their goals and what it's going to connect them with that. So let's also talk about effective listening skills, because that's why we ask questions, so we can listen. Give individual attention. Avoid interruption, even if you know the answer. If you're like me, and we just did behavioral styles, another one of my most favorite topics, if you're a high D, you probably already started talking before they finished their question. So refrain from blurting it out. And sometimes it's always good to ask them a question before you even answer that question. So it's always good. It's sometimes good to be a know-it-all, and it's great to have the answers, but avoid interrupting with someone. Keep them talking. The art of asking questions is to have you be doing less of the talking. You should definitely be doing less than 75% of it. And that's the reason Dawn mentioned it before I pushed recording on here. You have 2 ears and a mouth for one reason. There's a reason why we have that ratio. Pay attention to nonverbal messages. Avoid emotional responses. Those are great in effective listening. Have high emotional awareness. Compliment often, which is always just kind of piggybacks on just keep the conversation moving in a positive direction. Don't ask questions that continue to go down a rabbit hole of negativity. And it's about what they want. So it's not about how much you know. So for all the newer coaches on the line, it really doesn't matter. This is why the art of asking questions is so beautiful. Is yes, you can be a health coach for 6-7 years. You can know the ins and outs. You can know all the different things, and that's great. It's good to want to be really good at your craft. But really, none of that really matters in the day, and that's why we ask questions, is we want to know what people want, because if you've done plan or are on day one of plan, this plan works, it's worked for a lot of other people, and you know how to help say, hey, I think this program would be a good fit for you. Let me help you. I won't let you down. We can do this together. And that's why effective listening, no matter where your skill set is just as important. So just when you ask a client a why question, there's just really good things to remember. Are you listening? Or are you already starting to think of how you will respond to the next question? Anybody ever do that? When they ask a question and they're not really listening, you're just thinking about what you can rebuttal with, and you've totally missed probably what they were talking about. This just goes back to the root of the art of asking questions. So just another good thing to bring up with people. So back when we're explaining the program, avoid verbal vomit of how great you are and how great the 5 and 1 is, even if it's true and you are great and you are amazing. Avoiding the verbal vomit is huge with people. So keep the excitement from the verbal vomit that you want to express and inject that into your listening ability. People will pick up on your nonverbal excitement, but the verbal vomiting, yes, it's better to listen than to verbal vomit. So, but keep the excitement from it. And then here's another point of it as well, is before talking to a client, remember that posture and confidence and knowing that this is the best program for them. That is seriously what it boils down to. You pair up these two arts, bulletproof posturing and the art of asking questions, you're going to be a phenomenal health coach, because you're going to ask the right questions and you're going to know enough about the person in front of you that you can boldly say, this program is going to work for you. I know it will. Let's do this. I think it's going to work for X, Y, and Z. And you told me that was so important to you, and we can make this happen. And there's, again, emotional tie that has that happen when you connect with somebody on a relationship level. But more importantly, even before we knew, before I've done more studying into how the human brain works, we just knew that when people can see themselves being successful, they want to do it. They'll get on that path. And there's a reason why when people can see how and why and what they want to accomplish, and they see the process happening, they get dopamine, because they can see the path. And then as they start accomplishing more things to that path, you get more dopamine. We as humans are designed to, when you have the art of asking questions down, us, ourselves, and our clients around us are designed to fall into our path of creating optimal health. So it's just about who we're asking those questions to, how often. So here's just another thought about, this as we're thriving through the holidays and planting seeds, being bulletproof. Just picture yourself being bulletproof. Even the best of us need a little reminder to just say, hey, our program's stinking awesome. No one can touch us. We've been the best for 30 years for a reason. We're continuing to grow at our amazing rate. And sometimes, we forget that, we have all these millions of, phenomenal health transformations all around us. So we want to remember that and just put that into your bulletproof. No one's going to bring a question to you that you shouldn't have, fiercely bulletproof posture on. So, we have you covered. That's the coolest thing about what we do. and how long we've been doing it, and the bio network that we're a part of. And if you do have a question, you have a support team. You have the virtual clinic. You have doctors and nurses who will back you up and give you all the information you need. So, so that's pretty much it. So as I wrap you up here, I wanted to keep this call nice and short and concise as we start the week and get back into more purpose and planting lots of seeds. Is remember your tools when you're asking questions. Again, you now know all the reasons why we ask questions. Now you know a lot of tools to connect people to with as you're starting to ask more questions. One is always going to be starting program, but if you have a little bit more people in the contemplative stage, Patty Glick did a great talk on that on the leadership call tonight, is match them up with the tools you have. We have the ebook to get people started. We can coach them through getting started if you're going to get going on a plan here shortly. Obviously, don't put them on the back burner if they're ready to go now, but these are some of your transition ones. 12-week health transformation, those are great. Get people set up, hey, I'm going to have newsletters send out, keep paying attention to those and keep your drip going on that. We have the challenge. I love you letting people know about the challenge. It's fantastic. And always the stories, which I'm going to, actually, before I go to this one real quick, is I'm going to recommend again that if you aren't doing, like a 30 days campaign of inspiration and hope right now, is if you haven't done that recently, it's a very powerful thing to do through the new year or through the December, because one, just a lot of people are on Facebook. It also warms up your warm market because you're going to be seeing lots of people. But two is, each day you're going to be presenting a story of health, and it's a really good tool for layering people and the stories out there. And the reason why you also do this is because you can present a lot of different stories. So a lot of people will look at other people that you're in relationship with that might be health coaches and say, oh, well, I don't have a health journey like that person. So that's why we also do 30 Days of Hope, because you can do anything from the 13-year-old that did the children's program all the way to the 90-year-old that lost over 100 pounds on this plan. And you can show a variety of people, and that way also not only are you showing symmetry with a lot of your warm market, but you're also letting people know that you're passionate and you're warming them up as they go into the holidays. I mean, you can just picture all the people that go to a gathering and just say, man, I really wish I wasn't going to see my friends this overweight. Really wish I could fit into those clothes. Oh, I'm really upset that I've been gaining weight. Or, oh my gosh, I went to another event and I seriously ate that much. Why do I feel like such garbage right now? So you want to make sure, going back to, are you on their mind when these happen, so that you are that beacon of life and hope. So also just a reminder, be positive throughout the holiday season, because positivity is very attractive. It's not something that's very, it's not in abundance in this day and age. So the last thing as we're wrapping up here is being ready to start a client at all time is so huge. And when you get to the art of asking questions and you're talking with people, whether it's in your initial state or you're actually connecting with them to talk about program, never forget to wrap the bow on it and say, and give them the invitation to start. And I give this to you from my own knowledge for the first, year of health coaching. I feel like I didn't even offer. I luckily talked to enough people, but I really shied away from, wrapping the bow. I would be like, get to the point where it'd be like, all right, well, glad we asked all those questions. I'll talk to you later. And I wouldn't give them I wouldn't say, they don't know what it looks like to start. You got to make sure that they know that, hey, if you're ready to get started right now, we can do that. It only takes a couple of minutes. I just need to know where you want your order shipped to and what card you want it on. So those things, don't forget to reach out and give the opportunity, because on the flip end, you'd be answering all these questions and people might think it's a very huge startup process. They may think they need to drive, into Portland or wherever the heck you are, or like that there's some huge sign-up situation. So make sure you give that invitation at the end that, hey, if you're ready to get going, it only takes a few minutes. We can do it now or whenever you're ready. I'm here to help you. So, make sure you're doing that and that you're ready to start a client at all times. So just as a review, asking questions is the reason why we ask questions. And here's some of the things that you should remember, that 15 to 20 questions minimum are probably a great pace for yourself. Be like, hey, I'm not going to get into any of my details until I know 15 or 20 things about what this person wants. And really, in all actuality, if you have someone that's semi-interested and you're setting up a time to talk with them, a call should really take no more than 7 to 20 minutes max to start a client. You can go from not knowing the person to knowing their deepest why in about 5 minutes, believe it or not. I know it sounds pretty incredible, but I do it day in and day out, and I know most of you guys do it too. So it doesn't take a lot of time to get to people's whys either. So you should be like in a good situation, you should be able to find the person's why, explain, and have their order in a 20-minute period. Some people may be very analytical and want some more information. So, sometimes those calls go a little bit longer, but the most important thing is, do you know what they want? So, do you know why they want it, number, size, and meaning? So if you don't know, keep asking questions. Again, this is just a review on the time frame. If you don't know what to talk about with someone, so say you're doing your call and maybe you've talked for even a while, because sometimes you can talk for a while and not talk about anything. So if you're getting to the point where you think you need to be explaining program and you're like, I don't know what to talk about, then you need to ask another question. Keep asking questions until you know what it is you're going to talk to that person about. Find out their why. This is all going to be repetitive because this is all a wrap up, but find out what they truly want. This takes practice. Don't rush the process. And if the answer is yes, you finally time to share the program and talk to them about it. So once you've asked all these questions, then it's your turn to guide them. You've earned that right in their life. They basically know their next steps. They're ready to go. It's that simple. So that's the art of asking questions. It's a fun thing to do. It's very easy. Sometimes it feels like you have a superpower because you can always find out what someone truly wants when they're confused, and it helps our clients stay very true. It also sets you up for a very strong client base. So as you're growing your client base, you know what they want. They're not just going to disappear on you in a week, because they have a bad week. So that is the magic art of asking questions. One of my favorite topics. And before I wrap up here, if anyone wants to ask any questions on the art of asking questions or make any last comments, I'd love to welcome it as we finish up the recording. Looks like Dawn might want to. No, I thought you were trying to unmute yourself. Does anyone have anything they want to add or ask? Let me check my chat real quick. Oh, Abby just asked everyone why to all. So, guys, that's pretty much it. That's the art of asking questions. This is one of my favorite topics when we first started going over it from our mentorship, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. So plant a lot of seeds this new year. Find out what people want, ask a lot of questions, and then provide the invitation. Provide that value and ask them to join you. So with all that being said, let you guys enjoy your evening. It's great to see all your smiling faces, and let's go talk with a bunch of people. Night, everybody.